We can feel. I'll just field any questions right now as people are still settling in. Questions that came up in the small group discussion that you wanted to answer.
Larry.
Glenn, keep your hand down.
Larry has a question about the darkness. The dark dread.
The deep dark dread that came upon Abram. What is the dread? I think it's just. So well, there's a few words that are describing the experience. So one of them, whenever it says a deep sleep fell upon him, so that word is the same word that gets used for Adam, and whenever God puts Adam into a deep sleep, in order to take a rib out and form Eve out of his side, it gets used a couple other times, but I believe. But then the dread, I'm not sure if there's a reference to anything, but I think you're supposed to just feel just this existential dread from darkness. If you've ever been terrified in the dark, whenever you can't see anything, I think that's exactly what's he's kind of falling into a deep mystical state. A trance. Yeah. So it just, what verse is this? This is verse 12 of chapter 15. As the sun was going down in deep sleep. So that's that word. That's the same word used for Adam. Fell on Abram, and lo, a dread and great darkness fell upon him. A dread and great darkness. What do you have? So they're translating trance as the same word that's being translated as deep sleep. So the idea is that nobody's going to wake him up. Like if you poke him, he's not moving. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions that arose from the small group? Yes, Janelle?
Why'd you say it like that? Was the sun still up when God said, "Look at the stars"?
Okay, so Trammell said, was the sun still up whenever he told Abram to look up at the stars? This is debated, okay? This is debated. If you look at the passage, it doesn't say anything about the sun being down whenever he is brought outside. If you look at chapter 15, verse 5, and he brought him outside, so God brings Abram outside and said, look toward heaven and number the stars if you are able to number them. Then he said, so shall your descendants be. Later on, in verse 12, it says, as the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Abram. So if before the sun was up, then what is Abram looking at when he's outside? Is he looking at a bright sunny day when God tells him to count the stars if he's able to number them? So some commenters on this passage have said that that's exactly what's happening. That when Abram is brought outside, it's daytime. And he can't see the stars. He's not able to number them. And yet, the stars are there. And so the promise to Abram is still valid. He's still going to be able to make his descendants that numerous, even though he can't see any of them right now. It's a very provocative interpretation. Some people really like it.
It doesn't say that it's the same day.
It doesn't say that it's the same day. You're trying to fill in the gaps. So some people say to try to fill in the gaps that this is all the same day. This is all one dialogue. My take on it is that it's not supposed to be read that way. These are kind of two different instances of him questioning God. that are brought together. And so he is seeing the stars at night. The part about if you are able to number them is not if you're able to see them, because the sun is out, and of course you can't see them when the sun is out. But that the stars are just so vast and numerous that he's not able to number each one of them, because, you lose track. What's that?
I said I always thought it was the night before.
The night before, yeah. So that's another interpretation that I prefer. Okay, so good question. So the deep sleep is actually later. The deep sleep isn't until the ritual. But whenever he's promised to look up at the stars, or whenever he's told to look out at the stars and God promises him, that's before the deep sleep happens. Yes, Glenn.
It's actually just a comment.
Oh.
That's shocking.
I took it this way. When he looks up at the stars, it says, and Abraham put his faith in the Lord. That his faith, you see his faith growing as
Yes.
deepening.
Yes.
And then I also looked up his animals that they sacrificed. And I think it was St. Augustine and St. Jerome who said that they only split the earthbound animals and the heaven animals. The birds were not split. Some people say just because they're too small. Others say because they represent heaven and the city of God is not divisive. And the animals on earth represent the city of man, and they are divisive.
Wow. Okay. Did y'all hear what Glenn just said? So Glenn is saying that St. Augustine, this is St. Augustine's commentary?
St. Augustine or St. Jerome.
St. Augustine or St. Jerome. It would make sense if it was Augustine referring back to the city of God, city of man thing. I've never heard of this interpretation, but he said that you have the three earthbound animals that are called to be split in half. Or God doesn't actually tell him to split them in half, but it seems like Abram knows what he's supposed to do with them. He splits the cow, the ram, and the she-goat in half, but the two birds he does not cut up. And so he's saying that this signifies the city of man, which is divided, and the city of God, represented by the birds that fly in the heavens, as not divided. Never heard of that, but that's a beautiful way to think about it. And if it comes from St. Augustine, it puts some more weight behind it. It is a mysterious passage. Anybody read that and just like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Yes, Larry.
Any reason why they're 3 years old now?
Was there any reason why the animals were 3 years old? Wow, we have hands being raised back here. Yes, Lauren.
I looked that up. It said it was 3 years old because that would have been the best, the top of the line, salary, most money. So if I could cream of the crop, they would choose
The best.
So Lauren was saying that this came from Mary Healy.
I don't know.
Okay.
I just Googled half of
Okay. Some interpreters said that the 3 years is not anything necessarily symbolic, but just saying that the animal is at the prime of its life. This would be the best sacrifice to be able to offer to God.
Mary Healy said that.
Mary Healy says that? Great. How many of y'all got that book? That's great. Okay, any other questions that came up? Yes.
Arthur was pondering all the sacrificial animals, what did they do with them after the sacrifice?
Okay, what do they do with the animals after the sacrifice? So usually what happens, let me be clear. What happens with Abram, it doesn't say that it's a sacrifice. It's strange, and it definitely looks like one. But what usually happens in a sacrifice is that you burn it. And so you don't just kill the animal, but by burning it, it's being transformed and rises into heaven in this other form, and it becomes a gift to God because it's rising up. So it would be burnt, so unusable, and that would be called like a whole burnt offering or a Holocaust offering. There's other ways to sacrifice animals where you're able to eat parts of it, and the priests would usually be the ones that ate those parts of the animal. It just depended on the sacrifice. And I'm not an expert on Leviticus, so I don't want to say anything more than that.
It was St. Augustine that was.
Okay, great. Thank you, Glenn.
It says in here there was a smoking brazier when the sun had set and it was dark, there appeared a smoking brazier and a flaming torch which passed between them.
Yes. What was the question about the smoking brazier and the flaming torch?
So it's burning.
What's that? Oh, in order to burn the sacrifice.
Oh.
Wow. I have never thought of that. Okay, so did everybody hear? Okay, so Ms. Jane said that when God appears, he appears as this flaming torch and a smoking brazier or smoking furnace or smoking fire pot, whatever the translation is.
It's number 17.
Verse 17, and it passes between the pieces. And this is supposed to be God, representing God. And so Miss Jane is saying, like, here's the fire burning up the offering. And I've never thought of that. But that's really good. And I'll have to meditate upon this some more and see what some other people say. One of the amazing things about Israelite sacrifice, or one of the distinctive things in some phases, is that the fire comes from God himself. So if you remember the sacrifice of Elijah, whenever he calls upon Yahweh, versus the sacrifice of the 400-odd priests of Baal, there's like this showdown between who has the real God. And so the priests of Baal, they put their sacrifice on the altar, and they are supposed to call fire down from heaven, from their God, from Baal, to consume the offering. And they're calling out all day long, cutting themselves, bleeding out everywhere, doing all their rituals, and nobody's listening. Nothing happens. But then Elijah comes and he puts his sacrifice on there, douses the whole thing with tons of water, and he calls upon God, and fire comes down from heaven and laps up all the water and consumes the sacrifice. And so that proves that Yahweh is the true God. He doesn't set the torch, but this is God accepting the sacrifice himself. So the fact that God manifests himself as the fire that comes forward instead of Abraham burning up the sacrifice, that might be in that same vein. Wow. Okay, this is great. Okay, hold on. We're at 6:15. Any other questions? Okay, go, Glenn.
I just think it's interesting that Abram is not going to see the promise. God says, "You will go, you will be with your forefathers in peace."
Yeah.
So he's going to see Isaac, the birth of his child, but he's not going to see the promise. But yet, he's still believing. And in our own lives, we have to believe.
Right. So Glenn is saying that it's amazing that Abram is not going to be able to see the promise, and yet he still believes. And actually, he believes even before he sees Isaac. He's believing. He says, he believed the Lord, even right here. Now we're going to see that Abram is on a journey, and this is one phase of it. And just like us, we can have real moments in our life where we believe, and nothing could make us doubt. And then all of a sudden, we kind of start unraveling again.